Investing and the fear of missing out. Look at Bitcoin at the moment. Let's take a look at the Zoom stock price. Let's cover a couple of these things and then really think about what fear of missing out means. Now, the answer is in the first word, fear. That's an emotion. Should we be investing based off of emotion? Probably bloody not, right? But I get it. It's really hard when you've got people around you being like, bro, are you keeping an eye on the Bitcoin price? Bro, have you seen what this stock is doing? You go to a family barbecue and someone's talking about how much they've made. Remember, often people make money on paper. Oh, I got into the property market in this year and it's doubled. Cool, man, you did nothing and it doubled. Like, okay, you're not a hero. The market did its thing. The dollar is becoming worthless, etc. What you want to do, I think, when it comes to money and investing and topics like this is to sort of pull yourself up and try and not be emotional about these things to start with and just have a look at the whole thing and look down on the situation and think, like, what is going on here? And with that approach, how can I think about this differently? Because when you're down here, like you're in all of the noise and the emotion, and have a think about this. You know, in 2021, house prices in New Zealand were rocketing and people were saying, like, you got to get in, and the market was going nuts. We had free money in the system, we had cheap debt, we had an access to debt, and we had FOMO, and we had, you got to get in before it's too late and things like that. So if you're in an open home, like with that emotion and that energy, of course you're going to be like, man, like I need to get in the mix in this. But if you pulled yourself up and looked down and you thought, fuck, look at all those humans, you know, going to that shitty house that isn't even that nice. Like, do they really aspire to live in that house? And look at how many there are. This is nuts. I went to a rental inspection once and same sort of thing. There were just heaps of people there. I left and said to my partner, I was like, I don't think, like, I could never have seen myself living there. Why were we even there? But because there was this sort of fear of missing out on a place in this environment, we're like, oh, maybe we should. Like, look how many people were there. And you almost are encouraged to do something you wouldn't ordinarily do. So that's my first suggestion, is actually like look down and look at what humans are doing and think, like, is that actually what you want? But of course, all of this always comes back to goals. So when we're deploying our money and investing, whether it's in business or whether it is individually, we want to make sure that it's moving towards our goals. Because if you then just start seeing what other people are doing, you get the fear of missing out. Did you actually want what they're trying to do to start with? What are you missing out on? Often it's just on paper gains or getting left behind, things like that. So if it's on paper gains, do you really care about those? Like, what are you going to do? Let's just say that you get told there's this stock, you've got to get involved in it, and you decide to put $1,000 into it, and it becomes worth $2,000 in 3 months' time. What do you do? What do you do? Does that $1,000 really change your life? Does it sell? Do you sell and take it? And now what do you do with that money? But we don't often think about the end, right? We just think about the, shit, I want to be on this train. Like, I want to be going in the right direction. Now then, think if you didn't do it, and then it does go to $2,000, how are you going to feel? And you're going to feel like you missed out, right? So then when you feel like you're going to miss out, think, what is your ultimate downside risk? So your ultimate downside risk is that you don't have $1,000 that you would have had. Can you make another $1,000? Can you get $1,000 again in your lifetime? Of course you can. So is that $1,000, that 100% gain, which is very rare to see in stocks, but yes, there's outliers of stories where things are going 15x and all these sorts of things that really drive these conversations. Is it actually that important to you? Or is it just this emotional response because you don't want to be the person who's not like in on the thing? Now, I want to show you a few examples, but before I do that, I want to go back to a story. Now, I bought A2 milk shares as a young fella at 10 cents. Me and my mate, we used our course-related costs, and some we put in the pokies, and we rinsed that, and then some we put into A2 milk, and we doubled it. And it went from 10 cents, it went from 10 cents to 40 cents. And we thought we were fucking Warren Buffett. We thought we were like, holy shit. Flag this uni stuff, man. We just got to get through it, and we got to go get us some cash, and we just got to do this. This looks easy. And then they went to 80 cents, but we'd sold at 40. Then they ended up going to about $22. And we weren't in that game because we sold, right? So even when we sold, we still then get to look and be like, damn it, what if? Like, what if we didn't sell all of this stuff? So I guess what I'm trying to highlight for you here is you will always have this in your life. Now, when I was in credit card debt and repaying that, I've said before, but I'm like, man, I really need to get in on these Xero shares, because I knew what was happening in the accounting industry. I could see it. Now, if I show you this Xero graph here, you can see all the way back down here, back in the day, like March 2013, like they were $9 a share, like less, they're $5. I think I remember I actually had an order in for Xero shares and they kept going up. And so my price was never hit, so I could never buy them at the price that I wanted. So say I wanted them at like they're at $5.50 and they went to $6. Well, now they're 151 Australian. But, let's just zoom out again and I'll just show you, like, look at this graph. Like, it's taken ages for that to happen, but look at this piece here, which we're going to talk to now. So not that long ago, like Xero was kind of down in the dumps and people were sort of saying, oh shit, I think the run's over. So they really bubbled up, as a lot of assets did through the pandemic period where everything was just frothy and it was just nuts because there was so much money getting washed into assets. But they fell from basically like $153 all the way down to $70. They ended up with a new CEO and stuff, and I'm like, man, they're probably a good buy. I can see what's going to happen here. They were stripping out costs. They're heavily trying to get people on board. Like, man, they are trying to get this thing, like, increase the number of subscribers, all these sorts of things. So I've got like enough knowledge, or back myself with knowledge, to think, okay, I think I know what's going on here. I should invest. But again, I didn't. So $75 they were, and they would now be 151. So I would have doubled, just about, right? Well, basically, yeah, it would be a double. But I didn't buy. So I can't really, I can't look at that and be like, well, these are the people then that, old me would have gone around and be like, I knew, man, like, I knew I should have done this, etc. Now I'm just like, okay. Because would I then, like, now that they're doubled, would I sell them? I don't know. I'd probably be like, oh, maybe they'll keep going up. Because you always think about what you're missing out on, but when you get there, you never think like, okay, now what do I do? Because most people don't actually invest or think about this stuff with a goal in mind. Like, when do you sell? And why are you buying this asset? Or why do you actually want to be involved in this? Now, if we have a look at Bitcoin, for instance, like, it's on a tear. It's nearly this morning hit an all-time high, but it's just pulling back a little bit. And that's probably because I put it up on social media, so now it's decreased. So I think it is today. It's like, you could probably see that today. It was up and then it's down. Anyway, I've been keeping an eye on Bitcoin since 2020. I knew about it earlier than that because someone came into my accounting office years ago and they had one. They received one whilst traveling overseas and they wanted to turn it into cash. And some of my mates were like, yeah, we'll buy it off them. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But anyway, that's sort of my first introduction to Bitcoin. But I brought some in 2020 because I could see what was happening with the conversation around this and money following attention. And that's sort of what got me started on my journey with that. And it's increased since then. But I actually sold 0.4 of a Bitcoin to go on a trip to Vegas. So you can guess where that cash has gone, right? So now I'm like, fuck, I should never have done that. What was I thinking? I should have just taken cash instead of sell. Like, why did I sell that of all things? I should have sold some of my other shares, etc. Another example of through your life, like, you will always, when you start investing and doing this stuff, you'll always have these stories. I shouldn't have sold, I should have, I shouldn't have, all this sort of stuff. I'll just log in to my Sharesies and show you like another ripper, because myself and my partner, we were saving via a specific stock, and so we'd put money into that. And then we finally needed to liquidate it all because we were going on holiday. And of course, like, we liquidated it all, and then what do you think has happened since we bloody liquidated it all? Of course, it's just gone absolutely nuts. Where the hell is this? Here we go. So if I zoom out for you here, like, you can see over the year, like, look at this thing just rocketing up, right? So this is the Smart US Large Growth ETF. And then if we have a look at us, can you see all those dots there? That's us dollar cost averaging in every month, and then like, it's just coming down and down and down, and then we sell it all. We sell it all to go on our holiday, and then bang. So we sold everything that we had in there, which wasn't like much. Let's just say it was $5,000, right? $6.50, and it's now $12. So nearly a double. So once you know enough about investing, you can fuck yourself mindset-wise, because then you're like, well, if we didn't sell that, our holiday actually halved in price. Because if we left it in there and used some other forms of money, then that 5 grand would now be worth 10. So effectively our 10 grand holiday, only cost us the 5 grand. So it's really easy to get caught up in all this FOMO and stuff like that without actually sort of understanding a wider thought process of what can happen. But the beauty of investing is you get these lessons and you actually learn heaps about yourself when it comes to money and investing and your emotions and things like that. So I think if you're purely looking at things on a FOMO basis, you've got to be really, really careful because it's not a good way to make decisions with anything in life. And here's probably my favorite example. Remember when the world locked down and everyone started talking about Zoom, and it was like, oh man, if you use, oh mate, bro, I've been using Zoom for years. Like, what are you on about? Anyway, prior to the demic, 2019, let's just look at that. Let's just say $91 US a share. Bang, we get into the demic and they go to all the way up to $500, basically $492 US dollars. So it's like, do you have any Zoom stocks? You've got to get into Zoom, man. Like everyone's using it, etc., etc. You're like, oh my God, like what am I doing? Like I should be owning this too. Well, today, like if you brought them, in that hype at $490, let's even just say $400. Well, guess what? Today they're worth $75. Ouch. So again, it's another example of you have to be really careful because sometimes hypey, FOMO-y stuff is just purely emotion dragging stuff in and people getting caught up in the hype. And if your first experience in investing is FOMO based and then you get your ass handed to you, you're going to be one of those people that are like, nah, investing doesn't work, man, full of shit, never again, because you're so scared of losing money. And that's why I often talk about learning to make more money because it's actually a skill. It's learnable. You can do it. People will tell you in this country you can't. Someone said the other day, like, you're alienating the audience. No, you're alienating yourself, believing and telling people that they can't make money. It's funny, people don't want to talk about making money right now and how, you're alienating the audience. Dude, the government are introducing a capital gains tax. Why? Well, thinking about it, sorry, and we're all talking about it as a nation. Why? Oh, because they want to make more money. So it's all good for them to do it. Oh, your council putting your rates up. Why don't you go knock on the door? Hey, you're alienating your rate base here because you want more money. You got to pay it. So things are going to get more expensive in your life and you need to learn how you can protect yourself. My fucking hot water here went up double, 100% increase last week. Bang, get the notice. I'm like, yo, I think you guys got this wrong here. They're like, send out a department-wide thing. No, sorry, it is. I'm like, holy shit. So if I don't know how to make more money, I'm instantly into fear mode. But if you think the only way to make more money is by like gambling into stocks and betting on FOMO and doing stuff like this, sheesh, man, when you get your ass handed to you at some stage, then you're not gonna understand investing. You're not gonna get that investing is actually, you invest to become an investor, to be an investor, to learn the habits, to create a new version of you, to let money go and go, okay, go and do your thing for me over a long time period. I'm not talking hypey FOMO, like in and out stuff. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking, we are not gambling. We are investing. We're not like, oh, my neighbor said medicinal shares, man, you got to get involved. Where are all your neighbors now? Hey, probably inside smoking it on the couch, figuring out where the fuck their money went. Yeah, up in smoke as well. So be careful with all the hypey, FOMO-y stuff and make sure that you don't introduce yourself to investing via FOMO and emotion that could mean that you never invest again in your life. And if you want to learn more about this, go and have a read up of the 1987 stock market crash in New Zealand and you can see a whole generation that brought into FOMO and then whoompa, she all went down and they've never recovered from that. And then it's been like property, property, property. And they think that that's the only way to invest. I think, most of our households, just going to get the data, but most of our household assets, when I had a look at like 2021 RBNZ, Reserve Bank of New Zealand data, I think 57% of our assets are homes and investment properties. Anyway, story for maybe a topic for another day. This is a bubble out there, man. Half of these things behind us, they don't have any value. One's getting knocked down out there. It's probably $10 million worth of property. Boom, smashed by a digger, gone. Oh, shit. Okay, maybe it's the land underneath it. Maybe it's a scarce asset. So that's what people like about Bitcoin, for instance, or that's what they believe. So Just be careful. There's always hype that you'll have to deal with and FOMO in your life when it comes to investing in anything. You know, what you're studying, was it day trading or whatever, or the flash industry to get into. Make sure you map your actions back towards your goals. But first, you need to actually have some goals. I hope that helps. FOMO, get rid of it.